The Supreme Court case United States v. Nixon started with the breaking into of the Democratic National Headquarters, located within the Watergate complex in June of 1972. After 2 years of investigation, in March of 1974, 7 members of CREEP, the Committee to Re-elect the President, were tried by a 19-member grand jury for conspiracy to obstruct justice. During this trial, it became clear that Nixon's senior officials, and possibly even Nixon himself, were involved in covering up information about the Watergate break-in. During the trial, Nixon was among the members named as a co-conspirator, but was unindicted for his involvement. In April of 1974, Special Prosecutor Leon Jarsky was appointed by Nixon to investigate Watergate, issued a subpoena ordering President Nixon to produce tapes and documents related to specific meetings and conversations dealing with the Watergate break-in. On April 30th, Nixon released 43 edited transcripts, including some of the conversations that were wanted in the subpoena, in hopes that the edited transcripts would satisfy the court. However, this was not the case, and on May 1st, 1974, Nixon's attorney, James St. Clair, asked that the subpoena be quashed, but the request was denied. The President and his staff were given until May 30th, 1974 to release all of the documents spelled out in the subpoena. But on May 24th, 1974, St. Clair appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit to quash the subpoena. Both parties involved in the appeal quickly came to realize that the issue of whether the President of the United States had to comply with the subpoena could only be decided by the Supreme Court. So, St. Clair and Jarsky both asked that the case be moved to the Supreme Court, without waiting for the decision of the Court of Appeals. On June 15, 1974, the Supreme Court took the case. Nixon was represented by St. Clair, and the government by Jarsky. President Nixon argued that he did not have to comply with the subpoena because of the right to executive privilege which is given to the President in Article 2 of the Constitution, which states that the President does not have to be forced to reveal confidential communications unless he chooses to do so. Additionally, Nixon argued that because he had appointed Jarsky as special prosecutor, it was a conflict between a lower executive official and the President, and thus was not subject to judicial action. In an 8-0 decision, with Supreme Court Justice Rehnquist, not present on account of Nixon, appointing him to the Supreme Court, the court ruled against President Nixon. The opinion released by Chief Justice Warren E. Burger stated that the power of the court to decide matters that deal with the Constitution was given to the Supreme Court in Marbury v. Madison. Therefore, the matter of whether the President had to comply with the subpoena was to be decided by the court because it dealt with a discrepancy in the Constitution. The court also stated that the President had to comply with the demands in the subpoena because executive privilege does not grant immunity from the law, but is there to protect communications from the public, especially in areas of military, diplomatic, and national security issues. However, in this case, the communications are not about those subject matters, and thus executive privilege does not allow for the President to conceal the tapes from the court. The court found that in this case, the President is not above the law, and that judicial process can sometimes outweigh executive privilege. With impeachment looming over him, President Nixon resigned the presidency 2 weeks after the court released its opinion. The importance of United States v. Nixon is that it was the first case in which the Supreme Court acknowledged the presidential power of executive privilege, and it also led to the first resignation of a president.